glad that you're tuning into this video. If you're watching this video in the new year 2018, then I'm so happy to be reconnecting with you. It's been quite a while since I posted a new video, but I'm in a new apartment. You'll notice the new backdrop behind me. And if you're watching this video many moons later, then ignore that. I'm thrilled to be back here. I'm thrilled to be offering you lots more yoga videos this year. But we're going to kick the year off with a new type of practice, one that we haven't done on this channel before. And this is an intention setting practice. So this is a great practice to do at the start of the new year, which is what we're doing now. Or perhaps if you're entering a new season, whether that's a new physical season, like you're moving to a new location, you're starting a new job, you are going off to college or grad school, you're about to have a baby, life's about to change in a big way for you, and you really are feeling the need to reconnect with your desires, with God's heart, see where they overlap, and just cast vision for the new season ahead of you. That's what this video is about. So a couple things that you're going to need, a journal and a pen. We're going to take a couple of breaks in the middle of this practice to spend some time reflecting. So as we move and we breathe through the yoga, I'll be directing you through different Bible verses and different questions to help focus your heart and stir things up inside you. And what we're going to do is I'm going to have you hit pause on the video. I'll give a little brief explanation during the first break about what that's going to look like more specifically. But then you can carve out 2 minutes or 20 minutes to just get quiet with the Lord and reflective and start dreaming with Him about what's next for you. So journal and a pen are important. There's also a worksheet that we're going to use to sort of guide this time. The link to that worksheet is in the description below. You can print it out if you have a printer. I personally don't, which is why I'm not showing you what it looks like right now. Or you can just take a look at it on your screen to get an idea of what it is that we'll be working through. So those are the things that you'll need for this practice. I pray that this practice is a blessing to you. Psalm 37:4 is going to be the focus of our hearts as we move and breathe today. And that psalm says, delight yourself in the Lord and He will give you the desires of your heart. Now, quite a few years ago, I had a total shift in understanding about what that verse meant. I always used to think it meant like, delight yourself in the Lord and He'll give you the things that you want. But the Holy Spirit spoke to me one day and said, no, Caroline, those desires that you have in your heart that seem sort of random or scattered or like you don't know where they fit into the world, those are the desires that I gave you. As you've delighted yourself in me, I've shaped the desires of your heart. So you can go after them knowing fully that they come from heaven. Trusting that if the timing is right, if it's God's will, the door will open. And if it's not, then we'll find the next path or the next door. So we don't need to be afraid necessarily of these desires or just push them away because we're like, no, those certainly aren't from God. Let's just bring them all into His presence now. Ask Him to breathe on them. Ask Him to show us where His heart and our heart overlap, and just start to cast vision for the new season that we're stepping into. We're going to begin with just a simple warm-up, connecting with our hearts and starting to stoke the fire of gratitude and delight. So let's jump on our mats and get started. Let's begin our practice with a very gentle warm-up in a comfortable seated position. So take a moment to find that position, to get comfortable. And then when you're there, you're welcome to close your eyes and just start rolling your shoulders up and back, nice and slowly here. There's no need to rush through these movements, but start to notice how it is you're stepping onto your mat today. Allow your neck to get involved with this, perhaps circling it side to side and forward and back. And as we enter into this practice, the very first thing that I invite you to do is just start noticing the presence. Notice the presence of God in the space around you, in the breath within you, in the movements that your body makes. Notice the presence. Welcome the presence. Embrace God's presence. Bring your hands to your knees now and start to make some circles counterclockwise. These circles can include your hips, they can include your ribs, they can include your shoulders and your head. Starting to take stock of how we're entering into our practice today. Good. And then let's switch up the direction of those circles, going clockwise now. There's no right or wrong way to do this. Just move as it feels good to move. Beautiful. Slowly make those circles smaller and smaller until you find yourself sitting upright, tailbone reaching down towards the earth, top of the head reaching up towards the ceiling, shoulders soft, chin drawn in just slightly, breath flowing freely from your belly up through your chest and back down. Interlace your fingers right in front of you here, but keep your index fingers outstretched. With your next inhale, reach your arms up overhead. Roll your shoulders away from your ears. Really open up your armpits. Find some space in between your rib cage. And then as you breathe out, start to round forward, really pressing forward with those fingers and feeling the space between your shoulder blades stretch. Let's do this a few more times. Inhale, lift up, heart open. Exhale, round forward, reach forward. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, round and reach. One last time. Big breath in. Reach up tall. Find more length. Exhale, round your upper back. Heart presses to the back wall. Fingertips press forward. That's it. Good. Come back to the center. Bring both hands to your heart and close your eyes here. Let's start this practice by clarifying our desires and acknowledging God's presence right from the start. So 2 really wonderful questions I like to ask myself to help reflect is first, God, right now I come to you blank. I come to you feeling overwhelmed. I come to you rejoicing. I come to you confused. Fill in the blank. Take a moment to notice how it is you're feeling, what you're experiencing, and express it to God. Today it might just be, I don't know. And there are seasons of I don't know, and that's okay too. The next question that you're going to ask yourself and invite the Lord into is, God, what I desire most from you right now is fill in the blank. What I desire most from you right now is peace, is discernment, is your presence. Take a moment to express what it is you desire from God right now. These are questions that can be returned to again and again throughout your day. God, right now I come to you blank. And God, what I desire most from you right now is blank. It's a beautiful way to start to notice the imprints of God, the impressions of God, the nearness of God throughout your day. Psalm 37 verse 4 says, delight yourself in the Lord and he will give you the desires of your heart. So for the first part of this practice, we're going to focus on just delighting in the Lord. In every ounce of our bodies, let's delight in him. Open your eyes and come onto your hands and knees. Good. Once you get there, start to circle your hips. So these are circles that are isolated just in your pelvic bowl. So your shoulders and your ribs aren't really doing a whole lot. I think I mentioned this in another video practice, but one of my teachers calls this imagining having a paintbrush in your tail and you're trying to paint circles on the wall behind you. This may feel really hard because this part of our body tends to get really tight and stiff, especially if we've been sitting for a long time. So don't feel bad if this feels difficult. The more that you practice it, the more intuitive it will become. If you've been going in the same direction, switch up directions, take those circles the other way. And allow yourself to delight in the Lord, even as you're moving on your hands and knees in this way. Beautiful. Let's bring our hips back to our heels. Take a breath in child's pose here. Keep your knees center though, because on your next inhale, let's roll forward to a supported plank. So shoulders are over our wrists. This isn't quite upward facing dog where you're arching your heart forward. Just keep those shoulders over those wrists. Good, and that low belly drawn in. And then let's bring hips back to heels for child's pose. Let's do this 3 more times. On your inhale, come forward to that supported plank. And on your exhale, sit it back, child's pose. Breathe in, come forward, activating that core strength. Exhale, releasing it back. And one more time. Inhale, roll forward, supported plank. Beautiful. Exhale, roll back, child's pose. Good. Come back up to that supported plank position. When you get there, tuck your toes and hover your knees a couple inches off the mat. Woo. Feel that core start to engage. Feel your pelvic floor start to engage. Feel your glutes and your upper thighs working. Take one more breath here. As you exhale, start to press your hips back, 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 and find yourself in downward facing dog. When you get there, take a couple minutes for down dog to feel as comfortable as possible. It will get more comfortable as you move through the practice, but for this very first one, raise one heel on the other, bend your knees, sway your hips, nod your head side to side. Continue the movements that feel most natural and inviting, and use them to delight in the Lord. Beautiful. On your next breath in, roll forwards to a plank position, knees lifted. As you exhale, hips up and back, downward facing dog. From downward facing dog, step your feet forward and wider until your feet can hit flat onto your mat. So that might just be a couple inches in, that might be a whole foot in. It's different for everybody. Find that place though where you can really root down through your heels. And then press through your thigh bones and your shin bones towards the back wall. Notice how much strength is coming from your lower body here and how much weight that takes off your hands and your wrists and your shoulders in down dog. Over time, this feeling is what we want to try and cultivate in down dog. As we build strength and flexibility, this will come more naturally. But right now, let's take one more breath in this modified down dog, really engaging the strength of your legs here. Good. And then step back to your normal down dog length. Good. See if you can make that connection back here again, even though your heels may be lifted, but really pressing through your legs, thigh bones reaching back, shins bones pressing back. Feel the length in the sides of your waist. Beautiful. And then soft bend in the knees, step your feet forward so you're folded forward at the front of your mat. Inhale, roll slowly all the way up to stand. And when you get there, reach your arms up overhead. Good. Inhale here. Exhale, bring them back together at your heart. Inhale, arms reach up. As you exhale, interlace your fingers and place them right at the base of your skull. Use your hands there as a cue to lengthen the back of your neck, lifting up through the base of your skull. Good. And finding even more length through your spine. Gorgeous. Keep your hands where they are. Draw your weight into your heels and with your hips pulling back, sink down into chair pose. Good, but spine is long. Hands are lengthening, ears away from shoulders, even as your hips are pulling in the opposite direction. Good, extend your arms forward now. Beautiful, take a breath in here. As you exhale, hips stay the same. Upper body's gonna twist to the right though, so right arm reaches back. Maybe you look over that right shoulder. On your next exhale, come back to the center. Arms stretch forward. Inhale here. Exhale, start to lower your torso towards your knees. Extend your arms back behind you. Collarbones wide open here. That's it. Good. Start to lift your right heel off the mat and then step that right foot back. Lower your right knee. Good. Fingertips come to the mat. You're in a supported low lunge here. Inhale, reach your arms up to the ceiling. Exhale, now let's twist to the left. Left arm reaches back, right arm reaches forward. Maybe your gaze goes over your left shoulder. And then return to the center. Interlace your fingers here, press your palms up to the ceiling. Take a big full inhale. As you exhale, reach your palms across to the front of the room as you straighten your left leg. Maybe those palms come to rest, I don't know, on the sole of your foot. Maybe you release fingertips and just enjoy this hamstring stretch on your left leg. Beautiful. If your fingers aren't on the mat yet, release the interlace, place them down on the mat. And here's where we're going. We're going to a supported side plank facing the right side of your mat. So your right knee is going to start to turn towards the right side as your left foot plants down, your right hand plants down, and that left arm reaches up to the ceiling and over your head, lifting through your rib cage here so your left ribs get a really deep stretch. Good job. Take a big breath in here. And as you exhale, let's return to hands and knees facing the front of your mat. When you get there, walk your hands a couple inches forward and just sway your hips side to side here. You decide how deeply you want to go in the stretch, but continuing to make space in this part of our body that can get very tight. And continuing to delight in the goodness and the presence and the love of the Lord. Tuck your toes, hover those knees a couple inches off the mat, and then reach those hips back, lengthening your spine, and then maybe slowly starting to move your legs towards straight. Never do they have to be straight, but really see if you can draw strength from them so that this is a pose that engages the lower body as well as the upper body. If you'd like to take a vinyasa here, you may choose to now. If you're happy in down dog or you want to take child's pose, go ahead. If you'd like to take a vinyasa, inhale, roll forward to your plank. Lower your knees if you like. Hug your elbows in towards your ribs, lower halfway down. Inhale, open your heart up, straighten your arms for cobra or upward facing dog. Exhale, hips draw up and back, downward facing dog. Deep, full breaths here. Feel your heart pumping, feel the endorphins starting to move, and give thanks for this good body that can move and worship in this way. Let's take these series of poses on the other side. So, take a look at your hands and step your feet forward. On an inhale, slowly roll all the way up to stand. Reach your arms up to the ceiling. Exhale, bring them together at your heart. Inhale, arms reach up. Exhale, fingers interlace. Put the opposite index finger or thumb on top so it feels a little funky. Place your hands at the base of your skull. Inhale, lengthen, ears away from shoulders, hips away from head. And in this nice long position, draw your weight into your heels, reach your hips back, settle down into chair pose. Rather than rolling your shoulders forward, can you open them up, allowing your heart to breathe a little bigger? That's it. Good. Release your fingers here. Extend your arms forward. Left arm is going to reach to the back wall. Right arm is going to reach to the front wall as you twist to the left. Everything below your waist stays the same, so hips stay even. Come back to the center. Arms reach forward. Big breath in. Exhale. Start to lower your torso towards your knees as you reach your arms back behind you. Good. Take one more breath in here. As you exhale, lift your left heel up and step your left foot to the back. Lower that left knee down. Rise up to that low lunge. Good. Arms reach overhead. Take a nice big breath in here. And as you breathe out, twist to the right. Right arm forward, left arm back. Gorgeous. Inhale back up to the center. Interlace fingers that opposite way again. Press your palms up to the ceiling. Open your chest here. As you exhale, start to straighten your right leg, folding forward, giving that hamstring and that calf muscle a nice, good stretch. At any time, you can release your fingers down to the mat. Don't forget to breathe. And if your fingers aren't already on the mat, release them there now. And let's take that supported side plank to the left side of your mat. Start to turn that left knee out. Fingers are going to take a walk over the left side. Plant that left hand down, root that right foot down, and reach your right arm up to the ceiling and overhead, taking a big, full, joyous breath in and a long breath out, really pressing that right foot down into the mat to deepen the stretch. Very good. Return to your hands and your knees. And once again, sway your hips side to side here. Beautiful. Tuck your toes, hover your knees, hips reach back. From fingertips to your tailbone is one long straight line of energy, and then maybe start to straighten those legs out. Take a vinyasa of your choice here if you'd like, or just take 5 deep breaths in this downward dog, maybe exploring what it feels like to step those feet forward again and really anchor down through all 4 corners. All right, we're going to take our first journaling break here. So lower down onto your knees, grab your journal, and let's do some journaling. Welcome to our first journaling break. All right, so here's where this worksheet is really going to come in handy. The worksheet is called Look at You, and at the top it will say 2017 because we're filming this video at the start of the year. The phrase "look at you" came from something the Lord spoke to me at the end of the year a couple years ago. Normally New Year's Eve sends me to a very dark place. I always feel like I could have done better, or I should have done more, or I should be farther along. I just felt the Lord say, "Look at you, Caroline. Like, look at all that you did this last year. Look at all you became." And at the same time, my heart just responded, "God, look at you. Look at all that you did. Look at all that this world became this past year as we partnered together and as I saw heaven on earth." So that's why this worksheet is called Look at You 2017. But we're just going to spend some time now reflecting on the past year or the past season, stirring up gratitude and thanks. Psalm chapter 100 verse 4 says, "Enter his gates with thanksgiving. Enter his presence with thanksgiving." In the Passion Translation, it reads like this: "You can pass through his open gates with the password of praise. Come right into his presence with thanksgiving. Come bring your thank offering to him and affectionately bless his beautiful name." So before we even start dreaming for what's ahead, let's remind ourselves how good God has been, how much growth we've seen in our lives this past year or season. So this worksheet is divided up into 3 categories. And the metaphor I want to offer you is a tree to track inward growth, upward growth, and outward growth. So like a tree, inward growth is the roots underneath the soil, the things that you never see but contribute greatly to the strength and the health of the tree. So I want you to reflect on all the inward growth you've seen this past year. Upward growth is your traditional milestones. Maybe you got a new job, maybe you moved to a new city, maybe you made X amount of money, or you achieved these goals that you set out to make. Celebrate all the upward growth you've seen in your life. Outward growth is like the branches and the leaves of the tree that provide shade and covering for the people around you. So how has your life expanded in the last year? This could be new relationships you made, new groups you joined, time or money that you gave away, ways that you've lived outside of yourself. So hit pause on this video now, grab a journal. If you have the worksheet, grab that, and let's just start to give thanks and remind ourselves of where we've been. I hope that journaling break was so fruitful that your heart just feels overflowing with gratitude as you remembered all the good things God has done. Let's do a little bit more yoga, stir it up a little bit more, and start to seek God for where his heart and our desires overlap so we can cast some big vision for the season ahead.
Come to stand right at the front of your mat. And now that we've cultivated our gratitude and our delight in the character of God and the kingdom of God, let's ask the Holy Spirit to reveal the desires of our heart and the desires of God's heart and to show us where they overlap. So Holy Spirit, as we move and breathe, we ask you to stir up the desires in us that you planted long ago. Help us discern your movements, your timing, and your purpose. Help us use our imaginations to dream heaven dreams for our lives and our world. Amen. Take a big breath in. Reach your arms back behind you. Open your chest forward here. So this is like a standing cow posture. And then as you exhale, round your upper back, reach your arms forward, maybe like you're hugging a giant beach ball. Good. Inhale, open it back up for a standing cow. Exhale, round it forwards for a standing cat. Let's do this 3 or 4 more times on your own breath, in your own movement. And let's just throw away all awkwardness that you may be feeling about this and instead really embody the movement. Make it a movement of gratitude, of opening your heart to the Lord, asking him to fill it. Exhale, releasing everything that's not of the Lord, everything that distracts or distorts or takes away from what his will is for our lives. One final time, big breath in, open your heart. Exhale, round forward for cat. Let's round all the way down till we're folding forward. Arms hanging heavy, head hanging heavy towards the mat. Good. You can grab elbows here if that feels good to you and sway softly side to side. Good. If you have your elbows grasped, release them now and heel toe your feet out to the very edges of your mat. And when they get there, point your toes in just slightly. Start to bend softly into your left knee and gently twist open your right shoulder. You should feel a nice deep stretch on the outside of that left leg. Good. And then let's take this over to the other side. So bend into your right knee, gently twist open to the left side. Beautiful. Slowly come back to the center. Fingertips on the mat. Step your right foot back for warrior one. So that heel is at about 45 degrees. Those right toes point towards the front right corner of your mat. Ground down through your feet and breathe in, rise up. Bring your hands to your hips to start with. Nudge that left hip point back and that right hip point forward so your hips are square to the front of the mat. And if this feels difficult or uncomfortable, just take a little wider stance in your feet. Beautiful. Arms reach up overhead. Inhale, straighten that front knee. Exhale, bend back into it. Good. Inhale, straighten that front knee. Interlace fingers behind your back. Knuckles reach down to the floor as you find some length through the front of your body. As you exhale, bend back into that left knee and fold your chest forward for humble warrior. Maybe that shoulder makes contact with that knee. Maybe that left shoulder snuggles itself a little inside. Maybe it hovers 4 inches above. Your variation is beautiful and acceptable and sacred. Press down through your feet. Inhale, rise back up, warrior one. Release your fingers. Good. Reach them back up to the ceiling. Interlace them again here. Keep those index fingers pointing out. Straighten that left knee one more time. So your fingers are reaching up. You're finding length through your spine here. As you exhale, keep that left leg straight. Start to reach your fingers forward so we're in this pyramid variation. Lots of energy and strength in that back right heel through your index fingers. Left hip keeps drawing back. Sides of the waist are long. Shoulders come away from the ears. So strong and fierce. Beautiful. Okay, let's go to warrior three. So lift that right heel up. Maybe those right toes start to float off the mat. Maybe you start to make a letter T with your body here. Good. Take one more breath. As you exhale, land that back foot back down on the mat. And let's spin both sets of feet so our toes point to the right side of the mat. Fingers are still interlaced here. Arms extend up. Again, encouraging length through the side body. Growth in your body. Good. Fingers are going to lead the way here as you fold forward. So spine is long, 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 long. Good. Now release those fingers down to the mat and relax in your forward fold. Knees can be soft here. Breath can be full and free here. That's it. Point your right toes towards the back of your mat. Start to bend into your right knee. Right hand can stay on the mat. If you have a block nearby, you can place it on a block, or you can bring that right forearm to your thigh as you start to reach your left arm up to the ceiling for side angle. Really open that left shoulder up here. Good. And then extend that left arm over your ear to create some length. That's it. Ground down through your feet. On your next breath in, rise up, warrior two. Good. Inhale, back to center. So warrior, straighten both legs, reach both arms up overhead. And then as you exhale, let's take warrior two back to the front of the room. Good. Place your hands back onto the mat. Step that left foot back so you're in a plank position. Lower knees if you'd like. Hug elbows into your sides, lower halfway down for chaturanga. Inhale, heart open to cobra or upper dog. Exhale, bring it back to downward facing dog. Let's take 4 breaths here in down dog. Big and full breaths. If this is not a position where you feel like you can freely talk to the Lord, if it feels strained, come down to child's pose. Ask him to stir up the desires in your heart that he's planted long ago. God, where does your heart and the desires of my heart overlap? That's the land I want to inhabit. If you're in child's pose, come back up to down dog. And then in downward facing dog, put a soft bend in your knees and slowly walk back forward to the front of your mat. Press down through your feet. Rise all the way up to stand. Arms reach up overhead. Big breath in. As you exhale, keep reaching those fingers up to the ceiling. Maybe they start to reach back behind you for just a real gentle back bend. Good. Come back to the center. And slowly fold all the way back forwards. This time, step your left foot back for warrior one. When you find a position that works for your body, press down through your feet, rise up. Fingers reach up to the ceiling. Beautiful. Straighten that right knee, lift up, find length. Exhale, bend back into that front knee. Inhale, straighten it again. This time, interlace fingers opposite way behind your back. Hug the heels of your hands together as you reach your knuckles towards the floor. And then as you breathe out, bend into that right knee and fold your torso forwards for humble warrior. Allow your head to relax here. Soften your jaw. Keep pressing down through those feet. And as you exhale, let's take that pyramid variation on this right side. So fingers reach forward as your hips reach back. Good. Lengthen forwards and forwards and forwards. Keep drawing that right hip back. Good. Start to hover that left heel off the mat, and then maybe start to hover your left toes off the mat. Maybe start to make your way towards warrior three, where that left foot is reaching back towards the wall behind you and that foot is flexed. Good. Take one more breath in your balancing variation, and then land that left foot back on the mat. Good. Point both sets of feet over the left side of your mat. Keep your fingers interlaced here. Reach your arms up overhead. Find that length from the outside of the edges of your feet all the way up to your fingertips. And then with your heart leading the way and the fingers like you're drawing a line along the wall in front of you, start to fold forwards. Gorgeous. Release your fingers down to the mat and just enjoy the forward fold. Again, allow your head to relax here. Let's point those left toes towards the back of your mat. Slowly start to bend into that left knee and your variation of side angle on this side. So hand on the mat, fingertips on the mat, or forearm on thigh as you reach your right arm overhead and you really press down through the outside edge of that right foot. Good. Right arm is going to reach to the back of your mat, right over your head. Good. And then ground down through your feet. Inhale, warrior two. Good. Take a breath here. Straighten that left knee. Straighten both legs, aiming towards the long edge of your mat. And then warrior two back to the front. Good. Cartwheel your hands down to the mat. Spin your back heel up. Step your front foot back. We'll meet in a plank position. Your flow or head straight to child's pose. If you're flowing here, hug elbows in, lower halfway. Inhale, big breath in through your heart as you open it. Exhale, draw it back, downward facing dog. That's it. Hopefully this pose is starting to feel a bit more familiar, a bit stronger, a bit more intentional. God, keep stirring those desires. Keep us tuned into your presence. Let us not check out or grow weary, but God, give us the willpower and the strength and the courage to keep pressing in. Good. From downward facing dog, roll forwards to a plank position. Lower your knees down onto the mat, and then one forearm at a time, lower your forearms onto the mat. We're coming to a sphinx position here. So your elbows are going to be situated right underneath your shoulders. Fingers are spread really wide and hands are pressing into the mat, and they're pulling towards your belly button energetically, which means then that your heart can start to open and reach forward a little bit more. Shoulders soften down your back. Chin draws in so the back of your neck is really long. Allow your thighs and your glutes to soften here and take a big deep breath in and a deep breath out. Good. Look over your right shoulder and look over your left shoulder. Good. Bring your gaze back to the center. Take one more breath in here. And then as you exhale, lower down onto your hands. Press your hips back to your heels. Child's pose. Feel that length through your low back. Send your breath up and down the length of your spine here. Good. Slowly come back to the center and lower yourself all the way onto your belly. Extend your arms out in front of you and look over to the right side. Bring your ankles to touch behind you. Good. And then come bring your forehead to rest on the mat. Take a big breath in and start to float your ankles and your shins, maybe your knees off the mat. And then slowly start to lift your hands and your forearms and your elbows off the mat. So fingers reach forwards, legs reach back, and maybe they start to reach up towards the ceiling. Shoulders stay back. Back of the neck is long still, so send your gaze over the bridge of your nose. Take one more breath in here. Exhale, release it down to the mat. Look over to the left side. And take a moment in this position of total surrender to just feel what it feels like. Place your hands underneath your shoulders. Press your hips back. Child's pose. All right, time for our second journaling break. Time to press into the Lord about desires for this season, for this year. So grab your journal and let's do some journaling.
All right, let's jump in for our second journaling break. So during this time, we're going to seek God for vision, for words, for his heart and his desires for us in this next season. So we're going to use this worksheet again as sort of a template to guide this journaling time. So I want you to start to dream ahead to the next season, to the next year ahead perhaps, and dream with God about the kind of inward growth you desire, the kind of upward growth you desire, and the kind of outward growth you desire. And as you dream with him, refuse the temptation to get caught up in, but how will this happen? I don't think I could do this. I don't have the resources or provision. What can I do? This is not about you doing it in your own strength, but you partnering with God, his heart for you in this world to outwork the desires that he's already placed in your heart. One of my favorite scriptures of all time comes from the book of Acts chapter 5. And it's a story about Peter and the apostles being thrown in jail because they kept preaching the name of Jesus, even though the religious leaders at the time told them not to. They get dragged before the court. The high priest asks them what they're doing. Peter says, we're preaching the name of Jesus and we're not going to stop. They said, fine, we're going to kill you then. But one of the religious leaders said, wait, I don't think that's a good idea, and here's why. He says, leave these men alone. In fact, let them go. For if their purpose or activity is of human origin, it will fail. But if it is from God, you will not be able to stop these men. You'll only find yourselves fighting against God. And the fact that somebody who wasn't even part of perhaps Jesus's initial disciples or the disciples that came after that could notice that and say, look, I've seen fanatics rise up before saying their purposes of God, but they just die out and fizzle out after a while. But if these guys are really from God, you can't stop them. The purposes of the Lord will be done. Isaiah says the word of the Lord does not return void. So what he says he will do gets done. So don't worry about provision or resource or strength or capacity. God gives and provides all those things. He opens doors, but it's our opportunity to use our imagination and our heart to really dream with him about what could be possible for the season ahead. So press pause now, work through those questions, and we'll meet up again in a few minutes. Hey, I hope that time was so fruitful. I can't wait to hear about all the incredible dreams that God has stirred up in your heart from that time. We're going to do just a little bit more yoga, and this is really quiet, reflective, restorative yoga to just let all of these things soak in. To give God one more chance to say anything else that maybe we missed because we were running in a different direction, to just enjoy his presence and delight in the things that he is and that he's doing.
Come to lie down on your mat. When you get there, gently draw your knees into your chest. Roll around really small movements on your low back here, so your low back finds some release as it gets pressed into your mat. And then keep your left knee hugged in as you stretch your right leg forward and twist over to the right side. Your left arm can extend long. Your gaze can go over your left shoulder. Eyes can be closed here. And this is a part of our practice where we cultivate a sense of stillness and surrender. The striving has ceased. And now we just get to receive. So don't rush this with your breath or with your thoughts. Gently come back to the center. Again, draw both knees into your chest. And this time, keep your right knee hugged in as you extend your left leg out to the floor and twist over to the left side. Slowly come back to the center. Hug both knees into your chest. And then bring the soles of your feet together, knees wide, and lay them down onto the mat in front of you. Place one hand on your heart, one hand on your belly. If your eyes aren't closed yet, close them now. And let's just focus on deep inhales and even longer and slower exhales here. Allowing your breath to help open your hips. It's a pretty vulnerable part in our body, but just this physical embodiment of this heart posture of, God, I trust you. God, there's nothing I want to hide from you. Search me and know me, Lord. I surrender. Proverbs chapter 3, verses 21 through 26 in the Passion Translation reads like this. My child, never drift off course from these two goals for your life, to walk in wisdom and to discover discernment. Don't ever forget how they empower you, for they strengthen you inside and out, and they inspire you to do what's right. You will be energized and refreshed by the healing they bring. They will give you living hope to guide you, and not one of life's tests will cause you to stumble. You'll sleep like a baby, safe and sound, and rest will be sweet and secure. You will not be subject to terror, for it will not terrify you, nor will this disrespectful be able to push you aside, because God is your confidence in times of crisis, keeping your heart at rest in every situation. Bring your hands to the outsides of your thighs. Gently press your knees together and then extend your legs out in front of you. Open your arms out to the side for Shavasana. Because God is your confidence in times of crisis, keeping your heart at rest in every situation, we don't have to be terrorized by shame or fear or comparison or what ifs or not enoughs. We can dream big. We can yoke our hearts with His. We can trust Him to do what He says He will do. And the intentions that you cultivated for this next season will be saturated with the presence of God, with the kingdom of heaven. Going after those desires is a joy. It's one big experiment in wild love with a wildly loving God. So it's my prayer that as you wrap up this practice and as you soon step off your mat, that you step off your mat feeling empowered, feeling confident, not just in this puffed up way, but in a deep heart and soul way. That this time that you've spent has helped cultivate wisdom and discernment, and that you'll continue that search off your mat as the Lord reveals new fruits and new fields and new harvests for you in this season. So thank you so much for practicing with me today. I'll see you back here on your mat again soon.
Thank you so much for practicing with me today. I hope this different kind of practice was such a blessing to you, and I would so love to hear the things that the Lord spoke to you. So will you share in the comments maybe one thing, one area of growth in the past year? We want to celebrate with you the things that God has done in your life, and then maybe one dream or desire for the year or season ahead. I would love to be cheering you on and encouraging you in the things that God's calling you to. You can share it in the comments below or on Instagram. I'm Caroline W. Yoga on Instagram. I'd love to connect with you there, hear what God's doing in your life. So thanks for practicing with me today, friend, and I cannot wait to see you back here on your mat soon.